There's a lot of questions about how to deal with dates on your resume. Do you put it by company? Do you put it by position? Do you put them on the left? Do you put them on the right? Do you put them as numbers? Do you put them as letters? All of them have pluses and minuses, or pros and cons. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how you might approach dates on your resume and why they're really important and some of the factors to consider. All right, let's talk about it. So when it comes to dates on your resume, I don't think every consideration is of equal weight. I'd say the most important is to decide whether to group your work experience by position or by company. My preference is by company because it maximizes tenure. Others will tell you to do it by position because it'll show progression within a company. I don't think you're gonna get knocked out of a screening process one way or the other, but I do think at a glance, company is better. I will show you on the Teal Resume Builder how ultimately you can use both, and it's really up to you, and there might be reasons to consider one over the other, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. The next is what to include in terms of year and month. A lot of people prefer to leave the month off and just put years. The thing is, when people are looking at resumes, they tend to assume worst intent. And so they might think you're going from December of one year to January of the next, and you're trying to kind of mask duration. Sometimes people are trying to do that, but I generally say put accurate information on the resume. Really don't hide anything. Just be transparent, be honest. It makes the whole process easier. It's less sort of narrative to maintain. And then another one is whether you put the dates on the right or left. I think this is very much a matter of opinion. I prefer to put them on the left. But the cool thing is the Teal Resume Builder really lets you manage all these settings that I think most people are kind of 50-50 on, so you can ultimately do what you want. So let me show you how you would actually do that on your resume using the Teal Resume Builder. So here we are in the Teal Resume Builder. If you're not familiar with how to get there in Teal, it's your Resume Builder. Once you log in, you click it on the menu. We have other videos on how to quickly build one. This one's really going to be focused on dates. So over on the left, we have our career history, and here you can see we've got a built out resume for Tina Miller. And we want to work on how the dates are being rendered on this resume. So we're gonna head over to formatting mode. And now here in our settings for formatting mode, we'll go ahead and collapse these templates because we don't need those for now. We wanna go to group by. And you can group your work experience by company, which is our recommended default. So you can see you've got 2 positions at WeWork, and it's got the full date range at the company. And then, individuals for Google and Facebook, which Tina only worked at those companies 1 position each, so it matters a little bit less. But what I've seen some people want to do is group by position. And so what you see here is the company that gets repeated, and what's primary, or what's kind of made most prominent, is the position or the job title you had. For some reasons, that may be better. You may want to say position first, lead with that, and then make the company secondary. Some things to consider are if the company has a big brand name and is very recognized, I generally say put that first because you're going to gain credibility from that. If that's a little less so and you really want to put the position first, then another reason to do that. If you're a career pivoter, then maybe you want to put company first because position isn't something you're applying for, and those roles are maybe a little less relevant for the position you're applying to. So I would say, again, company first. So there's some things to consider when to choose one or the other. Now, what then goes along with that is the dates. Let's go back over to company as primary, and then you can see date ranges. Again, I recommend dates by tenure at company because by default it's gonna be the longest. It's gonna be the first date from your first position and the last date from your last position. And so it's gonna look like you've been there the longest. So when someone's skimming, they can't mistake it for job hopping. When you do it by position, now you have dates by position, and sure, this is nested under WeWork, but someone might just say, oh wait, those were different positions at different companies, and assume you're a job hopper. Which there shouldn't be anything wrong with that, but some people, don't think that's ideal. They are going to question your loyalty, all sorts of silly things that are, the fact of the matter is they're irrelevant. But look, people are making very quick snap decisions in recruiting. So that's why I generally prefer by company. If you wanted to do both, you can. We have the setting to put it by company and by position. Again, I think it starts to be too much information to consume. So my preference is by company, but it's 6 one way, half dozen the other, and depending on who you talk to, you're going to get different feedback. Another thing to consider is if you were at one company for a very long time and you've had 4 positions and you've been at that company for 15 years, then I would actually recommend doing it by position instead of by company to show progression. At the very least, you want to show the positions that you've had there. That's how you show that you've ascended through the company. I don't think the dates are necessarily required to do that. I would rather show longevity when possible because companies are going to prefer that. Again, even though it doesn't really matter, most people stay at companies around 3 years on average, but people like the idea of a person who stays at a company longer. So let's give them what they want. But again, you have the choice to do whichever. So we'll leave that at by company. A couple other things to consider are, do you put the dates on the right or on the left? Usually you need a whole template to do that. Built into the Teal Resume Builder is just a simple setting. I like it aligned. We generally read right to left. I like to make it easy, but given that we do read resumes in kind of an F or E pattern, kind of the spine and then the branches, if you want to do that, here it is. It's a simple setting. You just send it over to the right and the template can handle that. Some people really prefer this. Again, I like it in line with the text. It just goes with the natural pattern of reading. But if you want it, here it is. I don't think it's make or break, so do whatever makes you comfortable and ultimately makes you confident in the materials that you're submitting. So I'm gonna go ahead and move that back to the left. Then next is date format. There's some really pretty things you can do where you can label them by short name, or you can have them be the full long name. So in an effort to consolidate space, keep it tight, keep the space for things like long job titles, long company names, and just in case the resume parser has any error for interpretation, I prefer numbers. Numbers are just easier for the recruiter to read. It makes sense. They get it. They can do the math on tenure that they want. It's one less layer they have to compute. So I prefer numbers. I don't think it's going to make a difference one way or the other if someone's going to move your resume forward. So if it aligns better with your style, what you want, the way you like to talk about it, then absolutely do the one that you prefer. It's not going to make a big difference one way or the other. All right, so those are some things to consider when it comes to dates on your resume. But like all things, I like to take it to intentionality. As much as a lot of the career advice out there is very binary, let's think about what the intention of the resume is, right? The job of the resume is to get you an interview. And so there are things that people that are looking at resumes generally consider. They want to see that you stick around. They don't want to see that you jump around too much. They want to make it easy to read and they want to focus on the important content. So given that, my recommendations tend to be do the things that expand tenure, so therefore put dates at the company level rather than the position. Exception being if you were at a company for a very long time and each position was more than 3 years, then you're not gonna look like a job hopper no matter what. It's not gonna confuse that as a possibility. And then the others just make it really easy. Use numbers, align it with the text. The right-left one, really, I could go either way. I don't have strong opinions. Again, for parsing, I think it's better than it's all in line. But even that, with the tests I've done, it's fine. So do whatever makes you confident in the materials you're submitting. All right, so there's some info on dates on resumes. Hopefully you find that helpful. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. All right, see you on the next one.